Hello everyone and welcome once again back to the channel. I'm the Red Shadow and this is going to be a video that I think I have thought about doing before and then, I thought about doing before and then I forgot about doing it for a long time. And then because I'm in the middle of rewatching the X-Files, all the seasons including the new ones and both movies, I started to think about what could I do on this channel that's X-Files related that I wouldn't hate doing. And that would be this, a collection video of all the stuff that I have that's X-Files. I'm pretty sure everything I've got laid out in front of me here is all that I own X-Files related. There's a t-shirt that I still have that had a thing on it that said I want to believe in a certain way, but I guess it was a cheaply made t-shirt, and all the decals or all the whatever that they stuck on it to say I want to believe has faded away. It looks like it's just peeling off the shirt, so that's definitely not worth showing. But everything else I have here is what sums up, for me, about almost 25 years of being in the fandom for the X-Files. Now, I do want to say something. I just said a moment ago, what could I do in regards to the X-Files that I wouldn't hate? The reason for that is because the X-Files is my favorite television show of all time, and pretty much has been since I first saw it back in, I believe it would have been 1997 or 1998. I watched the very last episode of season 5, and then a bunch of episodes in the first 5 seasons that summer leading up to the release of the original movie, Fight the Future. And I did it at the behest of a friend of mine who was a huge fan of the X-Files, and he wanted to know, he and my other friends, that group of friends I had when I lived in Montana, we used to go to the movies all the time. He hit me up and said, hey, would you want to go see the X-Files movie? They're going to have one. And I said, sure, but I never watched an episode. I don't know much about the show. And so the very first live, brand new episode on TV was the season 5 finale called The End. And so I watched that with him. And then, like I said, binged as much rerun episodes that were on TV before I went to see the movie that summer. I don't remember exactly when it came out in the summer, if it was June, July, August. I don't know if I had a couple of weeks to get caught up or a couple of months. I don't remember at this point. I just know that I watched as much as I could. I was really enjoying the show. I saw the movie. I really liked the movie. I continued to watch the show after that. And I was a big fan. If I do remember correctly, I think this was all in 1998. But if I'm not, then, like I said, oops. From that moment on, I was in love with the show. When I moved here to Missouri in 1999, I continued to watch the show every week, despite being, away from where my friend who was really into the show lived. This series ended in 2002. We had the additional movie, and I believe it was 2008. Then in 2016, we got that revival season, and in 2018, we got another season, and now at this point, we've had nothing else, no further word as to whether or not X-Files is going to ever return. I've watched everything except for that 11th season. The 10th season was kind of disappointing for me, and neither the 10th or the 11th seasons offered up any kind of closure or resolution to the story, to the conspiracy. This is what I've gleaned from information off the internet about season 11, is that it didn't finish the story up. And I don't know if Chris Carter and the group was just thinking maybe we could get multiple seasons or movies or something, but I think I'm going to talk more about that when I finish my watch through of the whole series. I'll talk more about that, I think, at the end of this video. But I wanted to, like I said, show off what I do have, what I could find and round up amongst my collection of X-Files, this and that. Oh, and like I was saying before about doing something here about X-Files that I wouldn't hate. The few times I've done X-Files stuff on here, they've actually gotten some views. In fact, ridiculous numbers of views on some of the videos. If you go to my main page, my channel page on YouTube, and scroll down to the bottom, right now I have my most popular uploads as one of the playlists on the channel on the front page that you can see. And it's stupid that I have over 6,000 views on the first Red Shadow Watches the X-Files videos. I have no idea what people were expecting when they saw that. Would have had no idea of all the things on my channel that people would tune into. It would be X-Files related stuff and not the gaming stuff. Those 2 or 3 videos that I put out in that series got views. They got some engagement in terms of people making comments. I had one kind of snide remark from a guy that to this day, I've wanted to respond back to that person and kind of be like, hey, you don't know shit about me. You can't or shouldn't make those kind of statements and judgments about somebody, but I've bit my tongue all these years. There's some of the only videos that I have on my channel that have more negative, like dislikes to likes, but with no reasoning or comments by the people who disliked them. I can only think of one of 2 reasons why that is. Either people thought they were going to see the X-Files episode on the screen with me watching and reacting, which I don't think was really a thing 6 or 7 years ago like it is nowadays. But I don't know how to do shit like that, and that's way too much trouble. I'd rather watch the episodes and enjoy them on my own and then come back and talk about them. That was what those videos were intended to be. So if it wasn't that reason why there were a lot of views but like a little bit more of a negative reaction, then maybe it's just because the people who tuned into those, X-Files fans as a whole, maybe they just thought I'm a fucking idiot. I don't know. I have been a part of some X-Files related groups in the past, and currently I'm a part of one on Facebook. The one on Facebook has been generally positive overall. There used to be a forum I was a part of online years ago. It's long since gone now. That was filled equally, in my opinion, with really cool people and really shitty people. Like, I'm smarter than you, and if you don't show that you have some basic knowledge of science and conspiracies and UFOs and all that kind of stuff, then they were more than willing to shit on you for any kind of views you had. It really tempered what I would say and what I would put out there when I was on that forum. But here on YouTube, I was like, I should be invisible. Nobody should be seeing this. Nobody should give a damn. And my massive wordy ass titles that are drowned out by, like the Red Shadow, this and that. I figured all that kind of stuff would kind of mask me, but for some reason I got eyes on it. And the other day I went to look a little bit more onto that in kind of prep for this video. So you're gonna have to excuse me for this little diatribe here. But when I clicked on that first video with all those views, ads played on it. Does anybody have any idea why an ad would play on a video on a channel like mine that is not monetized? It never could be. I don't ever intend to, never wanted to monetize it. I don't have the subscriber count, the view amount, the view retention, video retention, all the analytics bullshit. Like, I don't have any of that. And yet an ad played on that video. Like, is it just because it had a lot of views they can just run ads automatically? It just blows my mind. Like, I would hate for somebody to click on that video and get an ad and then see just my ugly face on there talking without any extra whatever and think that I'm an idiot because, I don't know, just blows my mind. So I've put off continuing with that series. I'm in the middle of at least the second full X-Files, start to finish watch through since I did those videos. And every time I've done it, I'd really love to go back and sit down and do that series again, but I just don't need all of those eyes on me making me feel like shit for loving a series, even if I'm not perfectly nuanced in every little aspect of it and don't know everything that there is to know about it. So I thought, if anything, this would be one thing I could do. I could just show the stuff that I own that's X-Files related, and then hopefully that'll, a few people will say, oh, that's pretty cool. But I won't have a return to the nightmare that is those videos. Those are nightmarish for me. I don't see any reason for why a bunch of people would watch those. Very few people would comment, though. No constructive criticism. One shitty-ass comment and a bunch of thumbs downs. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So, I guess we'll see how this goes. This is probably going to be a longish video because of the amount of stuff that I have and the amount of time I've talked here. So, let's just go ahead and get started. I think I'll start with the games. I have the video games here in front of me. And we'll start with, in my opinion, well, it's the first game, but it's also, to me, it's the best game. And that's just simply the X-Files game for the PC. This is my original copy from the late 90s that has the 7 discs, each in their own little sleeves like this. And there's the booklet here in the back for that. I'm not going to tear all of this apart. I actually cover this better in the last video I put up, which was my top 30 favorite games of all time. The X-Files is in that last one, numbers 5 through 1. So if you want to see a little bit more about what this looks like, it's in there. Here is my original strategy guide for that game, the Prima guide from the X-Files PC game. The X-Files PC game is a point-and-click adventure game that came out around, I believe, 1996 or 1997. The guide's saying 98. It takes place during Season 3, or in between Seasons 2 and 3, 3 and 4. I'm not remembering quite off the top of my head. Like I said, I'm not perfect. It's my favorite thing of all time, but it doesn't mean that I know every last little detail in and out. This is a complete big box PC version of the game. I bought this a few years back because as an idiot of the 90s, buying stuff like that back then meant that big box was fodder for the trash. This was all that I needed, the discs. And so I tossed my complete copy of it away years and years and years ago, and then regretted it for a long, long time. But I was able to get that for actually quite cheap years ago. Point-and-click adventure game where you don't play as Mulder and Scully. You play as an FBI field agent in Seattle, or based out of Seattle, named Craig Wilmore. One of my favorite characters in the entire X-Files mythology, because I love the idea of a guy who's just has his own life and his own problems, and he has a job as an FBI agent, and he gets called in to help find Agents Mulder and Scully by his, direct authority, or his direct FBI supervisor, and by Assistant Director Skinner, who comes out to say, hey, my agents are missing. And so then you have to go figure out where they are. You have to do investigations, and you get wrapped up into the mythology and learn things that surely this guy had no idea what was going on. And it's a really good story. I enjoy it. I like it. Overall, the game, pretty much from start to finish, is really, really good. There are some points that are a little iffy for me, but I really like that one as a game so much that it's in my top 5 of all time. That you kind of have to be interested in the 90s point-and-click adventure game style, but it's all done with actual full-motion video footage of real actors, and then static shots where you hover around and click on something to interact with it, and then click in a certain direction to move to another room or hallway or scenario. I really enjoy it. I also have the PS1 version. This game here for the PS1 is the same game. It is graphically dumbed down for the PS1 console. PCs at that time were more capable, and the game was made for more capable systems than the PlayStation 1. And I have 2 copies of this for no reason other than the fact that I had bought a copy years and years ago, and it went on the shelf. And in more recent years, because I'd say this was probably purchased 5 or 6 years ago, this was probably more like 15 years ago, I didn't look at the shelf. I didn't have an app on my phone like I do now to let me know what I owned. I got a second copy for real cheap, and now I have 2. For right now, I may just keep the 2 and hold on to them, or one of them might become trade bait. They both have all the discs, the manual, and everything is included on them, so it's just kind of up in the air what I want to do with it. The next thing I have that's like game related, although this isn't necessarily a game, but this is the X-Files Unrestricted Access for the PC. And what this was, this is 1997, so this is only the first couple seasons into the show, but this is sort of like an interactive X-Files database. I haven't looked at this thing in so many years, but I think it was kind of set up to sort of make you feel like you were going in to the FBI's database, and you're looking at case files and all different kinds of things, just to sort of make you feel like you're getting a peek into not how the show is made, but like literally cases, characters, etc., etc. Yeah, this is pretty mind-blowing. I just now noticed this disc over here has got a thing on it for free 50 hours of America Online. Back in the days when you paid for hours of internet, not data limits or monthly time frames, but hours. Alright, the next thing I'm going to show, video game related, is the only other X-Files game, in my opinion. I think there's some more recent mobile style games or hidden object style games, but of actual games that tell stories. That other game, like I said, being set sometime in the 3rd season or in between 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. This game here that came to the PS2 in 2004 is supposedly like 3 lost, quote-unquote, lost episodes of Season 7. That's a little bit later in the time frame for the X-Files. That's towards when many people kind of consider to be the downturn of the series. And I like it, but I don't love it like I do the other game. This is think of like a Resident Evil or a Silent Hill style game with kind of like tanky controls. It feels a little bit more immersive, I guess, because you're actually controlling a character moving around in a world, in the world on a map, interacting with characters, interacting with bad guys. But I still like that point and click, and then something plays out on the screen in front of me style of the original game. But obviously, you gotta have this game in your collection if you're 1, an X-Files fan, and 2, especially if you're a gamer. So, got that. I was just reading into it too before I sat down to do this. This was originally in development for both the PS2 and the original Xbox, and unlike some other titles that I have really wanted to play, that was supposed to come to both consoles and then got canceled for one, this one actually stayed coming out on the PS2. There's at least one I can think of off the top of my head, and that's the Spy vs. Spy game. It was supposed to come to PS2 and Xbox, and then the PS2 version got canceled and Xbox only got it, which to me just blows my mind because the PS2 was such a massive juggernaut in that generation of consoles. So I'm super glad that the X-Files game made it out on PS2. Now I'm going to show 2 quick video games here before I move away from the gaming stuff. But I'm showing these games off simply because they feature the voice of David Duchovny, Agent Fox Mulder from the X-Files. First one of those being Area 51, and surprise, surprise, you've got a video game about aliens, and David Duchovny from The X-Files is in it. This has the voices of David Duchovny, Powers Booth, and Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson playing one of the aliens in the game, so that seemed fitting. But David Duchovny kind of voicing a more of a military soldier type as opposed to an agent. But it was still amazing. This is a part of my honorable mentions for my favorite games of all time, because it's a capable first-person shooter game, but then having David Duchovny be in there and tell the story, do the voiceover, almost kind of made it feel like an X-Files Monster of the Week / maybe even a mythology-style episode. I don't know. I don't think that this game is like super expensive. I don't think it's too hard to find this and pick it up, but I think it's a worthwhile addition to my gaming collection, and I just like to kind of lump it into this X-Files collection because of the David Duchovny connection. And then the other one that I have is the same thing. It's another PS2 game, 13, that also stars David Duchovny in the character, or the lead character voiceover role. This is also a first-person shooter game, but what was really cool about this game was it has a comic book, like cel-shaded comic book style and aesthetic to it. That was kind of what drew me to it, aside from David Duchovny having a voice role in it. I've never beat this game, whereas I have with Area 51. I did enjoy what I saw in this. And just earlier this year, or late last year, there was like a remastered version of this for the PS4 and Xbox One that apparently wasn't a very good remaster. It's had a lot of complaints about like its performance and whatnot. I don't know if it's been patched and updated to any level where it might be better, but I still want to find it because I do like this one, but I don't have that yet. Alright, so those are the games. Let's show one or two quick things here. I think I have more magazines than this that are X-Files related, but this is the only thing that I could come up with, that I could find in my collection. This is an Entertainment Weekly issue from April 14th, 2000. So it's before the end of the original run of the series. It's got David Duchovny on here. It says, the X-Files star revs up his movie career in Return to Me, but is Mulder down for the count. I haven't read the article in this in ages, who knows, so I'm not 100% sure what he has to say. I can't really give a rundown of that, but I'll see if I can find the... Yeah. This is more of a David Duchovny article than it is X-Files front and center. I think my dad gave this to me. I think my dad got this magazine sometime in the last 10 years and remembered at least enough about the X-Files and my love for him that he knew that this guy was from the show and gave me the magazine. Like I said, I want to believe, that I have some other magazines and stuff in my collection somewhere, but that kind of stuff's probably buried. Here's another print media thing that I have. It's the only X-Files book, novelization, whatever. This is an original story, not a adaptation of any of the episodes or the movies. This one's called Whirlwind. I read this 5 or 6 years ago. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I could probably read more of these books. I've got enough of a deep understanding of the series, as well as that ability up here to visualize the actors playing out those roles when I'm reading something like this, that it makes a really good additional episodes. So that's the only, like I said, the only book that I have. There's several more. I see people posting about them all the time. I think I've seen some of them on eBay. I don't think they're too expensive. I believe there's also comic books. I have not gotten into any of those, but that might be somewhere down the road. Alright, I think the next thing I'm going to do is I have a couple of things here that are like the games that aren't X-Files games, but have David Duchovny in them. I have a couple of movies that have David Duchovny in them and some movies that have Gillian Anderson in them. So I'm going to show those off next. Obviously, any X-Files collection, if you like these actors, would not be complete without having a copy of Evolution. The movie, the comedy, like the sci-fi comedy that David Duchovny did. We're looking at 2001. So this would have been right around the tail end of the X-Files itself. It has Orlando Jones, Julianne Moore, Sean William Scott. It's great. I mean, this is one of the first movies I think I ever saw. I want to say it came down to this movie and Jurassic Park 3. I think I may have mentioned this in a previous video. But one was the first movie I owned on DVD, and one was the first movie I watched on DVD. I just don't remember which is which. But this was one of the two. And I need to watch this again, but I think I want to track it down on Blu-ray over the DVD. But glad to have the DVD. And then the other one that I have for David is a movie called The Secret. And this was a movie that this came out 2006, 2007. I think I might have saw it somewhere around the time it came out. And I haven't watched it really since, but I really enjoyed it. And it's got a really good cast, in my opinion. David Duchovny, Lily Taylor, who was in an episode of The X-Files, played a blind lady who could see through the eyes of her biological father, who was doing bad things. And then Olivia Thirlby, who plays their daughter. And because David and Lily are married, their characters are married in this, and they have a daughter. And then there's a really bad accident that occurs with the mother and the daughter, and they're both severely injured with life-threatening injuries. And the mother succumbs to the injuries, and the daughter survives, but the mother's spirit or whatever transfers and moves into the daughter. It's sort of like a weird Freaky Friday kind of thing, but instead of them switching, the mother is kind of taken over the daughter's body. They're kind of coexisting, but it did create a few awkward and tense moments in it about the father wanting to believe that his daughter is now his wife. I think you can probably guess what it is that I'm getting at. It never really goes too deep into that, but it did bring it up, and you can't help but feel a little awkward about something like that. But I still really enjoy the movie from what I remember. It's another movie that I'd like to watch again, and probably another one that I want to try to find on Blu-ray. I've got a couple movies here that are Gillian Anderson ones. Just a few things that I have that she's in. I'm going to show one DVD. It's a movie called Closure. I think it's more popularly known as Straight Heads in Europe and maybe some other regions, but over here it was called Closure. All I really remember about this is that she is at some sort of a party, as is this guy, and they get very brutalized by some bad people, but they're not killed. And then afterwards they decide to seek some revenge. I noticed it had some poor reviews and ratings online. Once again, this is a movie I haven't watched in a while. This is showing in 2007. So it's been years since I've seen it, but I remembered liking it. Need to find this one on Blu-ray. I've actually been watching for it on eBay. It's in a 3-movie Blu-ray pack with 2 other movies that looked okay, but it wasn't very expensive. And so just for this, I'm going to try to pin that one down. Then we're going to show some Blu-rays, How to Lose Friends and Alienate People. This is not like a starring role for Gillian, but she is in it. And the cast, the fact that it's like a comedy and the fact that Gillian was in it, for me was enough of a reason to track this down. Yes, it's not open yet. I haven't watched it. I'll watch it at some point. I've got an animated Studio Ghibli movie here called From Up on Poppy Hill, where Gillian Anderson provides voiceover work. Studio Ghibli is usually pretty good, and so I have quite a few of their movies. This one, as a whole, the cast is Gillian Anderson, Sarah Bolger, Beau Bridges, Jamie Lee Curtis, Bruce Dern, Isabel Fuhrman, Christina Hendricks, Ron Howard, Emily Osment, Aubrey Plaza, Charlie Saxon, Alex Wolff, and Anton Yelkin. These English versions of Ghibli films usually tend to have really cool casts. But I haven't watched this movie yet. Like I said, you can see it's still in the shrink wrap. We'll get around to it at some point. And then I got season 1 of a TV show that I really enjoyed that Gillian's in. And it's not any of the more recent ones that she's done. She's, I think, been nominated for and even won some Emmys for some more recent stuff. But this one, she just has a smaller role in it. But I liked it, and it's an excuse to get a chance to talk about this. This is season 1 of American Gods, based off of a graphic novel that I'd never heard of before this season came along. I think this came to Walmart when I was still working there, and I just saw it, and I was like, this is kind of interesting, and I kind of like some of the people that are in it. And so I did a slight little bit of digging and thought, I'll give it a shot. And then I watched this, and I was like really blown away. It's a story about like old gods versus newer gods. Old gods sort of being like, if it says on here, yeah, it just says old gods fear irrelevance and the growing power of the new gods. And I remember that a lot of the new gods were things like social networking and just stuff to do with newer technology and the way things are working in the world now, as opposed to the old gods just literally being like the gods. I think they're up to 3 seasons of that now, but I haven't been able to get my hands on season 2, and I don't know if 3 is released to buy yet. But let's see. Well, let's get this out of the way. So this is a poster that I bought. Let me be a poster boy for not buying randomly advertised things on Facebook. I saw this and I thought, man, this would be really, really cool, and I would love to have this. And so I paid for it. One of those just promoted advertisements on Facebook. Second time, well, it was the first time I got suckered by one of these things. I got suckered once more since then. This, I actually got the product, but it's piss poor quality. The other thing was something I spent money on and never got. And I had no way to track the purchase to be able to try to get my money back. But this is a big old poster, a big old X-Files poster. And it's a pretty cool idea of it's simulated autographs. Somebody made this poster with some different, I can't really hold this, but like there's some different shots, screenshots, pretty familiar stuff, but I don't know if it'll come through on the video here, but the image quality on these is not good. For what I'm pretty sure I paid for this, this is something that I think I could have gotten a friend to make something like this of the quality that this is. I'm not trying to complain. Whoever sold this, they got money out of it. They provided a service and an item, a merchandise, a product, whatever. When I got it, I was so disappointed because I was looking forward to it. I was like, this is going to be a poster that I'm going to get a frame for, and I'm going to put it up on my wall. And then I got it, and I was really just honestly disappointed. For the money I paid, it should have been crystal clear. It should have been, where you would look at it and you would think to yourself, like I worked at Walmart for a long time, and especially in the last couple of years, I spent more time seeing what people were printing in the photo center, and seeing the quality of the kind of products. Like, they could make canvas style framed pictures, really nice looking collages, all kinds of stuff. And sometimes you would see people's pictures that were really sharp and clear, like they were either professionally done or they were using a really decent camera or even a phone. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money these days to get something that can take pictures that are good quality. And yet I was still seeing people's pictures that were super fuzzy, super out of focus. And hey, you know, make what you want, do what you want. But when I spent the money on this, I want to say about $30 for that. It should have been much better than it was. That's not something I'm going to put on a frame and then put on my wall back here. It's just not going to happen. Okay, 3 quick little things here, and then we'll get back into some more direct X-Files stuff. I'd be remiss if I didn't, 1, show this, and 2, own this. This is the series that pretty much inspired Chris Carter to create the X-Files. This is Kolchak, the Night Stalker. This stars Darren McGavin, who was in an episode or 2 of the X-Files itself, as kind of a tribute to the inspiration for the X-Files. I haven't watched this yet. I'm planning on watching this sometime after I finish my current run through the X-Files itself, and so I can have my chance to watch it for the first time. Back in the 2000s, there was sort of like a reboot that was just called The Night Stalker. I thought that show was fantastic. I wish they would have put it out on DVD. I wish there was a hard-pressed disc version of that show. It didn't last for very long, but I thought it was really, really good. I think if that show could have gotten a few seasons, it could have at least achieved some sort of cult status like something like this has. This is 20 episodes. Carl Kolchak is a headstrong investigative reporter on the trail of the paranormal. Zombies, vampires, werewolves, ghosts, succubi, and even aliens. So there you go. I can't wait to finally get the chance to sit down and watch that. Alright. Now, I'm going to show 2... Now, as far as I know, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, I think Chris Carter is really only responsible for 4, maybe 5 shows. And I think maybe he did something more recently or was involved in some way in a more recent project. But back in his heyday when the X-Files were going in the 90s and early 2000s, he was only responsible for 4 shows. There were the X-Files, there was Millennium. Those were the 2 shows that went more than 1 season. And then he had Harsh Realm. This is a non-connected... I don't believe this is considered to necessarily be connected to the X-Files mythology in some way, whereas Millennium has kind of crossed over, and the other show I have to show is obviously connected. There is a matter of an episode of this showing up in a recent episode I just watched in season 9, Scary Monsters. Was it Scary Monsters? Yeah. Because at the end of that, the kid is sitting in front of a bunch of TVs, and one of the screens is playing this show. This show is done in black and white. I think that kind of spaced my brain until I saw on the back here. But just to kind of give a quick little synopsis, because I don't remember everything. Harsh Realm is sort of a simulated, it says here, simulated virtual reality game used to teach situational war strategy. But yeah, there's a guy who's taken the game hostage, and you're following a guy who has to go in and eliminate that guy, and then he discovers that he's trapped there, and the deadly game will never end unless he completes his mission. I thought it was a really interesting show. I thought it was well done. I liked the actors in it. And it's a shame that it just ended after like 9 episodes. 3 that were aired, 6 that were not. I think it's worth having if you can find this. I know for a long time this and the next one were about $20 whenever you'd go to look for them. They might be a little bit more expensive now because they're like out of print and Anytime something gets out of print, then it tends to go up in value regardless of whether or not people are actually liking it. And the next thing to show here, obviously, it's the Lone Gunman, the spin-off show that stars Langley, Byers, and Frohickey, the three lovable losers from the X-Files. Unlike the X-Files, which delved all over to dramatic and suspenseful to funny and humorous, the Lone Gunmen were always kind of there for laughs, and the series here I think is more of like a action comedy. I've watched through the whole thing one time, and I'm actually prepped at this point in my watch through of the X-Files to watch this now. There's an episode in season 9 called Jump the Shark that is sort of like a culmination of the Lone Gunman's time on the series, and so everywhere I've read has said to just go ahead before you watch that episode and watch all of this. It's sort of the finale episode for the Lone Gunman. So I'm going to run through that here next and then get back into season 9. I don't have Millennium. I never really had any interest in it. I will probably someday buy it and watch it just to see what it's like. But that show also, it went 3 seasons and it got canceled before it had an ending. So Chris Carter brought it over to the X-Files and ended it in a season 6 or 7 episode. I don't remember which season. As far as that episode goes, it was interesting, but it wasn't ever enough for me to be like, I have to see that series now. But I think for posterity's sake, I will get it one of these days. It's just not high on my priority. I like the alien conspiracy, the supernatural paranormal monster stuff, over Millennium, which seemed to tend to delve more into faith and like satanic stuff, Satanism, whatever. Doesn't really interest me, doesn't grab my attention like X-Files and Aliens do. Alright, so now we're going to get more into direct X-Files stuff, and I'm going to start off with soundtrack CDs. So the first one up here is Songs in the Key of X, the X-Files, and noticing on the back of this, no UPC, but a BMG music service. So I'm pretty sure I bought this one of those times in like the late 90s when I was into the BMG stuff. Yeah, it was in the 90s. I may have bought this later on and not in the 90s. It's hard to say. Could have bought this off of eBay, but I did do Columbia House and BMG music stuff from time to time. So what I like about this is it's a lot of music that's inspired by the X-Files by different bands, including Soul Coughing, Sheryl Crow, Foo Fighters, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Filter, Meat Puppets, Danzig, Elvis Costello with Brian Eno, Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper, PM Dawn, and then you've got a PM Dawn remix of the X-Files theme, but it also came with the first track, which is Mark Snow's original X-Files theme. So cool because you get the theme song, but then just a bunch of music that was inspired by the X-Files. And I only came to realize within the last couple of years that Foo Fighters is one of my favorite bands, up there with Nine Inch Nails. Dave Grohl, the lead singer of Foo Fighters and the drummer from Nirvana, actually had a brief cameo in an earlier season episode of the X-Files. I knew about it when I started watching through the series. This is how bad my watch-throughs of the series can be because it's so much. And I do other things. I play games and watch other stuff. I started that last October. I'm coming up almost around a full year of watching, just a couple hundred episodes of the X-Files. So I think last October when I started watching the series, I knew about Dave Grohl's cameo, but I spaced it out once I really started to watch. Alright, so the next thing up we have here is The Truth and the Light, music from the X-Files. This is like an X-Files score. This is Mark Snow's music. I'm trying to see here. Music by Mark Snow, words by Chris Carter, score music from the television series. Even though this one's got a standard barcode on the back, I'm just now really kind of paying attention to, there's something on the front of this, on the front of the book, I think, yeah. It says, for promotional use only, sale or other transfer is prohibited, must be returned on demand of recording company. So I don't know what that exactly means. Hopefully that comes through and you can see that. That's kind of cool. Anyway, like I said, this is the instrumental score style music that Mark Snow did for the series. This isn't artists that you would know. It's just his music that he themed and composed for different episodes and scenarios in the show. And we'll keep up with another score. No, this will be the score one. We'll show the score first since we were there. These are kind of dusty. Should have cleaned them off a little. Original music picture score by Mark Snow for X-Files Fight the Future. This is the first X-Files movie. This is the one that came out in summer of '98. If I am remembering correctly, yes. This is once again, the orchestral style music, composed and written, produced, everything by Mark Snow. I love that music. It was always good in the show. Always takes me back to the... Not necessarily always takes me back to the episode or scenes that they were used in, but I can hear this music and I know I'm listening to X-Files music. But I do like these other albums, like here's the soundtrack, which is music done by other artists, put in the movie or put on the soundtrack to garner more sales for the soundtrack. The Fight the Future movie was great. The soundtrack here, once again, has got a slew of great songs from groups such as Filter, the Foo Fighters, Sting and Aswad, the Cardigans, Better Than Ezra, the Dust Brothers, Soul Coughing, Bjork, The Cure. This is, I think, a particular favorite of mine. Most, if not all, of these songs on here are fantastic. Love the music for that. And then, lastly, for me, I don't know if I'm missing more music from the X-Files from over the years, but this is the soundtrack to I Want to Believe. This is the 2008 movie, and this is a soundtrack for that. Well, this is it says soundtrack, but looking on the back, I realize that it's mostly music by Mark Snow. But there is the X-Files theme, it's X-Files Uncle variation on a theme, Surrender Sounds Session, Broken, an Uncle by Uncle featuring Gavin Clark, and then the laughable but whatever Dying to Live by Exhibit, because Exhibit the rapper was Exhibit the actor in this movie, and then they included a song of his in here. I mean, I like this movie, and I'll talk more about it here in a second. So I'll just finish showing the soundtrack here. But that's that. Real quick, some of the oldest things in my collection right now, X-Files related, are a couple of VHS box sets that I have. This is 6 episodes: Pilot and Deep Throat, Conduit and Ice, Fallen Angel and Eve, from the first season. I do not have a VHS player, a VCR, at this moment. I don't own one. When I got rid of the last one I got rid of almost every VHS that I had. But obviously I couldn't get rid of these. Not in a million years, not ever. Even if I can't play them to verify that they still work, I'm like, these have got to stay in the collection. And then I have this one here, which is, I believe, all from the 3rd season. This box set here has Piper Maru and Apocrypha. That's my favorite mythology episodes. Is that 2-parter. Then we have Pusher and Jose Chung's From Outer Space, and Wet Wired and Talitha Kumi. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this is all 3rd season because I know Piper Maru and Apocrypha are from the 3rd season. And I'd like to believe, I want to believe, that they would have kept these all within the seasons that they came from. This is some of the way that I got indoctrinated into the series, because once I had seen stuff from the series back in 1998, I wanted to own the stuff. Well, 1998 was the year before DVDs pretty much debuted, and therefore years before something like the X-Files was coming out, season box sets. So I had to get VHS. Lastly, here I have my VHS for the Fight the Future, the original movie, the movie that I went and saw in the theater in the summer of '98, so that I could go with my friend who wanted me to go see it with him, and kind of is what got me started into the series. Now, let's see. For the end here, we'll just go ahead and show what is pretty much the Mac Daddy of my collection. This is the DVD complete series box set. Now, when I say complete series, I mean what was the complete series at the time the series itself ended, before it got revived and before we had the second movie. I love this box set. There is a Blu-ray version of this, and I do plan on getting it someday. I am an absolute idiot for not having done it before. On 2 or 3 different occasions, I more than had the money to afford it. Now I think it's another thing that's kind of went out of print and is starting to push to like twice the price that it was originally available for. But I will get it one of these days. I'm going to have the entire series on Blu-ray from season 1 up to the new seasons. But this is what I have right now, and I'm watching through the season. So I'll open this up to show what's on the inside. One of these is gone because I'm currently watching season 9, so the spot for it is empty there. But each one of these is a little, it's more the size of a standard CD, but looks like a little book. Opens up, each one of these opens up, and you get a list of the episodes here, and then you get the discs on each page, and all the discs have printed images on them of a scene from one of the episodes that's included on that disc. A lot of them will have special features or extras, although the special features and extras on these are not, in my opinion, are not like great. They're not everything that you would maybe hope for. Also in here is the DVD version of Fight the Future. So you've seen the VHS, the soundtracks, the DVD version of it here, and then I'll show you the Blu-ray here in a moment. Now I'm trying to remember, this is my season 9 over here, the one that I'm currently in. I'm trying to remember if okay, there's 2 different discs in here that say bonus features. I'm wondering, I'm pretty sure in one of these box sets, and I think it's probably this one, they have all of the, there were 4 like compilation sets that came out that they were based on the different aspects of the mythology of the show. And what they did was they had like a certain length documentary style thing talking about colonization and the super soldiers and et cetera, et cetera. And then they collected pivotal episodes in regards to those mythologies. Basically, if you didn't want the whole entire box set, you would go out and you would find these things, and they would give you just the meat and potatoes of the conspiracy if you wanted that. And I think they don't have to put those extra episodes on there, but I think those 4 little compiled documentaries talking about the aspects of the mythology are included on that season 9 disc, but I don't remember off the top of my head now. One more thing, inside of this box set is this little tray that slides out. And inside this tray are some extra goodies. This is a X-Files official fan club registration card that you could send in. And there's like some little pictures. I don't even know what you would call these. There's Fallen Angel. This one is literally just like a kind of a spooky looking scene. This is Wet Wired. These are kind of like artistic interpretations of some of the episodes. There's Apocrypha. There's Jose Chung's, or at least they're reading Jose Chung's book. Pusher. There's Piper Maru. See, those are my favorite conspiracy episodes, and that seems to be pretty important to someone else around in here too. We got more stuff in here. This is a complete collector's edition, seasons 1 through 9, and X-Files Fight the Future, sort of like a book that it goes through stuff about the seasons, the episodes, their numbers, their titles, probably little synopses. This looks like a mini zine, X-Files magazine. Oh man, we got more stuff in here. I'm gonna have to run through this real fast. There's more of these cards, it looks like. My battery is showing that it's getting low. I got a poster. I'm not gonna try to fold this out. Advertising some other series and things that are coming out. There's 2 things here that are envelopes that are... I've opened them, but they've kind of resealed themselves, so I don't even know what's in here. Well, I'm not going to try to open that one. It's crazy that these things almost don't look like I've ever opened them, but I know I have. I don't know what's in there. Free Inside X-Files collector cards and merchandise offers. I don't want this battery to die on me, so shit. I didn't know this was gonna... I was watching it, and then all of a sudden it went from like 3/4 battery to 1. So, real quick, Blu-ray copies of Fight the Future and I Want to Believe in a bundle together. Ultimate X-File Edition, Fight the Future. I love, like I said, both movies. I love having these in high def. That's why I want the full season, or the full series on Blu-ray. I also have my DVD copy of I Want to Believe, the second movie, the one that was more like a Monster of the Week episode, expanded into a feature film and not about the mythology. And I bought this version, I believe, at Walmart, and it came with this essential guide to the X-Files movie. 2-disc set. It says introductions to all 8 episodes of this by series creator Chris Carter and executive producer Frank Spotnitz. WonderCon talent panel featuring Duchovny, Anderson, Chris Carter, and Frank Spotnitz. Theatrical trailer. So yeah, this had episodes that they said were essential viewing before you saw the new movie. And then last but not least, we've got the event series, which eventually became season 10. This is open because I have watched it one time, all the way through, and I had watched a few of the episodes on Netflix or Hulu or something like that when they were first coming out, but I didn't watch them all. I didn't watch all the episodes because in a way I was kind of disappointed in what I was seeing. It just wasn't hitting the mark. I'm gonna watch it again here soon to kind of reassess. And then season 11, the most recent one, I didn't even buy this until like maybe last year or the year before. I didn't buy it immediately after it came out, because like I said, I was kind of disappointed with what I had seen, disappointed with what I was hearing. But we'll watch it to see what happens. Now, I was going to talk about some stuff, and I've already fucking forgot what it was I was going to talk about here at the end. I think I was going to talk a little bit about I Want to Believe, the movie. Maybe? I don't remember. But it was, like I said, it was a letdown in terms of what we were all kind of expecting that we were going to get out of a return to the series. But I don't think it's a bad movie. It was sort of like, was it necessary? And then going into like season 10, what I was disappointed on season 10 with was that they only had 6 episodes, and they devoted way too much time to the silly and the humorous episodes instead of saying, it's been all these years, what have they been up to? What has the conspiracy turned into? What happened to the invasion that was supposed to happen in 2012? The 10th season was in 2016. So it was 4 years past what the invasion date was supposed to be. What was the story behind that? Did I miss something? Like, personally, did I miss something somewhere along the way? Was it explained? Is it explained in season 11? I'll find out when I get to watch that. But from what I've heard online, a lot of people were just disappointed because nothing was really resolved in season 11. It didn't come to a conclusive ending. It didn't explain all of that. There was apparently focus on William, and I think it's good to talk about Scully's son, but he's supposed to tie into what was going to happen with the invasion and all that. I don't know. I'm going to talk more about that once I finish watching the series. And when I get to the end of that, that'll be the next thing I put up on my channel. That's in regards to the X-Files. Just me sitting down and talking about my thoughts, having watched through the original 9 seasons and the original movie, for the umpteenth time. What'll probably be the 4th or 5th time seeing the second movie. What'll be the second time of seeing season 10 all the way through, and my first time seeing season 11. And I'll just try to give my assessment of what I think of the series as a whole. And disappointment that I'm hearing that Gillian Anderson has said that she's just done and doesn't want to come back. But David would like to continue on, and Chris Carter would like to as well. What will be the future of the series? I'll have to just kind of think about that. I think the series could continue on, but I also think at this point right now, the series should just come to an end with some sort of an either final season or a final movie that wraps up and takes care of the mythology, the alien mythology, all those millions of years in the X-Files lore that the aliens were a part of our world and molding who and what we were and what their intentions were for us should be addressed, and it should be resolved in some way. All right, yeah, I guess this about does it. So thanks for watching this all the way to the end. I hate that I think said I was going to talk about something at the end and I didn't, but oh well. That's just the way that it is. So thanks, guys, for watching this, and I think I'm going to go watch the first episode of the Lone Gunman series before I go to sleep. So we'll see you next time.